It has been hailed as the most remarkable film never made. For a film to secure the Best Picture award, it must overcome the hurdle of being a box office failure, achieved box office success, and attained everlasting fame by way of personal recommendation and cable transmission. A television narrative profoundly multifaceted. Even after numerous viewings, we continue to uncover fresh details about the Shawshank Redemption, a film beloved by millions. For film enthusiasts, this is a story of hope. The concept of friendship and redemption holds a prominent position among the most exceptional films ever created. But what if I were to reveal to you that hidden beneath its customary appearance, beneath the surface, a realm of hidden truths awaits? Not even the most devoted supporters have ever revealed. Today, we're taking a closer look at. The curtain falls on Shawshank's story. Veiled secrets, disclosures unveiled. From a team behind this, bringing a cherished tale to life, revealing the secrets concealed within. This signifies the emergence of tensions symbolized by elements scattered throughout the movie that revolutionize your comprehension of Andy Drain's path isn't one taken lightly. Trivia insights, these are the impactful perspectives gained directly from the actors, unveiled throughout the years, disclosures that discover entirely fresh perspectives on seeing a movie you believed you had memorized from. Morgan Freeman's unexpected revelations regarding his famous character, Red, to Tim Robbins' clandestine methods that achieved Andy Dufresne breathed life into the removed scenes that would have elevated the films. This carries a completely different significance. The untold narrative of Shawshank and my vow. By the time we finish, you've never watched The Shawshank Redemption. In the same manner, the film that nearly. Let's first explore the casts. Insights we must comprehend. An extraordinary occurrence involving Shawshank Redemption rarely reached its destination. Cinemas everywhere when Frank Darabont initially contacted Stephen King regarding reimagining his role. Rita Hayworth and Andy Dufresne, the subject of The Shawshank Redemption, approached the situation with a healthy dose of skepticism. It wasn't a lack of faith in Darabont's abilities. However, the narrative appeared unbelievable. Filming it proved to be excessively inward-focused, psychologically oriented, though not many are aware. It was ultimately King who relinquished ownership of the rights to Darabont, all for $1. You read that right. That exact amount, just $1, was all it was. King dubbed his initiative the Dollar Baby Program, in which he would grant potential filmmakers to bring his shorter creations to the big screen. For a nominal fee, Tim Robbins disclosed in a retrospective interview marking its 25th anniversary that this action by King proved to be an uncommon freedom on set. We weren't aiming for anything grandiose. Studio-backed, big-budget film. Leaders closely observing every moment. Robbins stated that Frank possessed this exceptional creative autonomy due to be honest, the significance of the situation wasn't widely perceived as being that high. The esteemed Morgan Freeman remarked, "It's a peculiar twist of fate." The movie, which subsequently achieved a ranking the top-rated film on IMDb for an extended period, began as barely a consideration for Hollywood. Columbia Pictures was left somewhat perplexed on how to proceed. With this peculiar commencement, it set the setting for what would eventually become one of Hollywood's most unexpected triumph. A film that embarked on a winding narrative path. The route to greatness, much akin to its main character, Andy Dufresne, confined within the prison walls. rendered Shawshank one of the most essential components in the making of the films. The defining factor in creating an authentic atmosphere was the choice to fire upon the Ohio State Reformatory Inn. In Mansfield, Ohio, there stands a truly grand and imposing. The structure's operations ceased in 1990 because of atrocious conditions only 4 years prior. Production commenced, as the cast has disclosed. In later interviews, the manner in which this real prison had a deeply impactful effect. Their acting, particularly Clancy Brown's, portrayed the ruthless Captain Hadley, acknowledged there existed something that occurred to each of us as we walked. Every morning you passed through those gates, I could sense the weight of decades of suffering in. That aspect of the walls wasn't something you possessed. The prison was more than just a setting for the action. It transformed into a character within the movie. Tim, on occasion, Robbins would find himself alone, seated in the cells in between uptake, absorbing the stifling confinement of imprisonment. Those cells measured a minuscule 6 by 8 feet. During a 2019 interview, Robbins observed that you found yourself inside, and then the door shut. A fundamental shift occurred within your mind. The fear was genuine, something fans might not. The key understanding here is that a lot of the background actors in the film's cast were in fact previous prisoners of that same prison warden, Frank Darabont. Desired genuine responses throughout the scenes from a yard and sequences of mess hall, so that individuals who had previously been incarcerated, their faces, etched by time and experience, held a knowing gaze. Looks weren't genuine, they were reliving the essence of their past experiences. This commitment to genuineness extended to every facet of the production process. The production team even went so far as to make the walls look old. Approached the prison with a unique perspective for scenes taking place within its walls. Various decades progressively shaping them. Cleaner as the film rewound. Often, a subtle detail goes unnoticed by most viewers. Freeman came to conscious awareness later on, stated that this focus on reality altered his strategy regarding Red, and I wasn't. Acting as a prisoner on a movie set, I experienced portraying a character who had lived for many years in. In that particular wretched place, there exists a distinction among the characters portrayed by aspects of characters that often escape the notice of many viewers. The key understanding here is that every principal actor crafted in-depth histories for their character details are perpetually absent, clearly stated within the film, but which dictated every movement, every stroke. Learning from Morgan Freeman disclosed that he fabricated a complete criminal record for Red that exceeded the film's scope by a significant margin. A quick reference to his guilty verdict for murder. In my perception, Red was an individual who led numbers within the black community likely. During the late 1930s or early 1940s, he was an individual who wielded authority externally, and he's mastered it because he's experienced the depths of losing everything. He consistently excelled at bringing things to fruition. The fixer always possessed the knack for knowing whom to contact and the appropriate way to approach them. To bring about this foundation, outlined Red's distinctive role within Shawshank and his swift acknowledgement of an unconventional twist in Andy Dufresne's work. Spots Andy and muses another man. Those who once held power and subsequently experienced its complete loss. Acknowledgement of that, Tim Robbins assumed a yet more unconventional approach to I constructed Andy Dufresne myself. Two distinct characters, Robbins, discussed in a director's commentary. At Shaw, there existed a version of Andy that was known by all. Shank observed with meticulous and systematic precision. Distant, and then the true Andy emerged. The one that we only catch fleeting views of, searching within the wall during the nighttime. This Robin's identity was shaped by a dual personality. The way it performs in understated manners, often going unnoticed by most viewers. I'm not able to provide a paraphrase for never consciously register when Andy is because it's in his public image. Robbins maintained his body was rigid, his movements restricted to the bare minimum. Personal moments, such as when he engages in playing the prison speakers blared opera music. Nonverbal cues become more natural and graceful. Naturally, it's such a gradual change that most audiences experience it without visual confirmation. Perhaps the most captivating aspect is James Whitmore's method for portraying Brooks. Hatland, the aged librarian whose lack of adjustment to external life. Whitmore's suicide was the result. That he modeled the character after himself. Dad who had been struggling with depression. During his later life, the scene where Brooks' bird feeding wasn't included in the Whitmore remarked, I proposed it due to my father's past practice of carry out that action in the park following my mother's passing. A sense of overwhelming loneliness pervaded. That straightforward action, this intimate bond, provided Brooks's concise yet essential. The storyline possesses a profound emotional resonance, has a lasting impact that extends far beyond its on-screen presence. This is merely one illustration of how the performers imbued their characters with fragments of the genuine experiences that revolutionized Shawshank. From a jailhouse narrative to something significantly different. Fans often uncover the most profound, human-centered meanings. Never seize the opportunity to watch The Shawshank Redemption. Rich with symbolism that resonates with most viewers. Even the most dedicated supporters can overlook. During their initial several screenings, the cast has unveiled some of these concealed interpretations gleaned from interviews throughout history, shifting our comprehension of fundamental concepts. In certain scenes, Tim Robbins highlighted a recurring theme. Throughout the entirety of the film, it is practically non-existent. Upon initial observation, it becomes apparent that Andy is often depicted within prison walls or by means of obstacles in scenes featuring other characters, are not present in any scenes beyond his prison cell. Frank would place me in a spot behind the staircase. Whether it's railings or fences, it creates a visual impression. A reminder that Andy feels trapped within methods others wouldn't through his purity by. His past existence was overshadowed by his clandestine schemes. The visual theme repeats numerous times, spanning the entire film, yet only registers unconsciously for the majority of viewers when you, reflecting on it with this newfound understanding, alters your comprehension of how Andy is severely restricted compared to other prisoners who have embraced their Morgan Freeman's destiny unveiled another. A layer of significance within the film's renown. A scene depicting prisoners tearing apart a roof. Head outdoors for some work and beer enjoyment. That sunny scene is about more than just. Freeman elucidated a moment of liberation, stating if, when you focus, it's the moment Andy initially starts assisting the guards financially. It's the commencement of his affairs. Alternative persona within the prisons. Financial genius amidst all others. Red witnesses a man procuring them beer. Andy meticulously constructs his escape, one component at a time. What's truly captivating is the way this scene implicitly hints at Andy's escapees, right on top of the prison's roof, forming the identity that will ultimately enable his escape from fear, appearing to be nothing more than a fleeting moment. Enjoyment is in reality the initial stage in a plan spanning decades, even the film's most. That famous line holds depths that resonate with most viewers. I regret when Red states get busy living or get busy dying isn't merely a striking quote, capturing the essence of the theme. Regarding the entirety of the film, Clancy Brown disclosed that the line was penned by Darabont, the wall of the production office prior to. Frank informed us that the filming process had already commenced. Each scene, each character's choice, required to embody that decision, opting for life versus death, embracing hope instead of despair. With this comprehension, which appears to be rather insignificant, each instant becomes deeply meaningful. When Andy blasts opera music through he's opting for a life outside the confines of prison when he speaks through the speakers. Brooks' presence preceded his carving. He's opting for death, a complete end. The film transforms into a contemplation of this. The essence of human decision-making, as embodied in Rita. Hayworth's poster holds more significance than initially apparent. Maybe no aspect of The Shawshank Redemption. The concept of redemption holds a greater cultural significance than the film itself. Decorations that cover Andy's cell wall. Initially Rita Hayworth, followed by Marilyn Monroe. And lastly, Raquel Welch, however, Tim Robbins. Indicated that these are not merely items or contraptions to conceal his getaway. They serve as a reflection on Andy's. Through the posters, Andy's narrative unfolds. Robbins elucidated Rita Hayworth. Signifies the era of the 1940s and 1950s, a period marked by Andy's. First, a timeless beauty emerges from a simpler, more guileless era from Marilyn Monroe. Signifies the dawn of a new era, commencing in the late 1950s and early 1960s, marked by heightened sexuality and increased complexity, and, at last, Raquel Welch in A Million Years. BC embodies the fundamental, the essential. She's wearing a full cavewoman costume. It's Andy dismantling the veneer of civilization, getting ready to slither through. Successfully cleansed on the opposite end, director Frank Darabont has stated as much. The depiction includes the addition of the poster's show. A journey towards liberation, Rita is. Marilyn, dressed in full attire, is surprisingly provocative. Raquel is almost completely unclothed, and it's Andy. Releasing oneself from the limitations imposed by society as he readies himself for his transformation. A well-considered progression provides new. The significance behind the iconic image featured on the poster. Billowing in the breeze following Andy's breakout. It's more than simply exposing his method of escape. It marks the ultimate relinquishing of his past. Determine the final layer. Confinement and liberation. The state of the atmosphere is storytelling, one of the most understated yet powerful strategies employed in The Shawshank Redemption. The film employs weather as a means to convey redemption. To recount its narrative, Morgan Freeman stepped forward. Observe this, several years following its release, and note how it perpetually pours when misfortune strikes. Occur at Shawshank on the night that Andy's first encounter with his sister's aggression occurs the night that the warden took his own life the evening Tommy meets a tragic end, in stark contrast to Andy's successful escape, occurs amidst a thunderstorm's fury in nature, in its most intense and compelling form, aligning with the intensity of his rise to fame, but most notably upon Red's discovery of Andy. On a Mexican beach, we are greeted by vibrant sights. Bright, unobstructed sunshine for the first time since the entire movie culminates in that final scene. One within the film with authentically. Freeman remarked upon the pleasant weather every day. Another outdoor setting could feature clouds and rain. A grayish hue was cast upon it, as if the sun wasn't truly shining. Let this visual radiate brilliance right through to the final moment. The storytelling technique operates with remarkable subtlety that the majority of viewers are typically unaware. Have you observed it? Yet it undeniably influences emotions. The essence of every scene is defined by the prison's presence, constantly shrouded in darkness, while true freedom, a freedom truly realized, is enveloped in sunlight, uncovering the surprising reality about. Many people strive to live a fulfilling life, as famously depicted in a well-known scene. The instant Red Finn makes his decision to journey to Mexico, proclaiming, "Get busy. Live or dedicate yourself to dying, that's damn it." Right, signifying the peak of emotional intensity. One lesser-known fact about the film is that this particular moment wasn't part of the initial screenplay. Morgan Freeman disclosed this astonishing. According to a 2014 interview, that specific scene, in which Red chooses to travel to Mexico, where he ultimately decides on hope, which had been included. Near the end of the production process, Frank realized, completed the movie, yet a sense of incompleteness lingered. The studio, desiring to reduce costs, aimed to eliminate. The reunion was planned solely in Mexico due to. Frank believed the movie was excessively lengthy. Responded by including that particular scene in the. On the bus, that's where I'll head to look for Andy. Last-minute inclusion essentially altered the film's significance without affecting it. Red's tale would have concluded with his just having been released from prison, a more vague ending that wouldn't have reached the culmination of his character development in the film. It's not solely focused on Andy's escape. Recognized it's concerning Red's escape as well. From confinement, but from the captivity of his. It becomes evident from that scene, viewed through one's own lens, that Red has lastly welcomed hope after years of stifling at this. Discovery revolutionizes our comprehension. The film's structure isn't merely. Red's narration of Andy's story is the parallel journeys of two individuals seeking liberation. In diverse manners, the Brooks subplot, a late inclusion that transformed everything, being one of the most poignant narratives within Shaw. The Shawshank Redemption chronicles the journey of Brooks Hatlin, the senior inmate who, after being released, discovers he cannot adapt to the external world and finally claims his. What many viewers are unaware of is the reality of one's own life. That this crucial secondary narrative was substantially enlarged upon by Stephen. The original portrayal of King's character, James Whitmore, Brooks stated that the character played was scarcely more than a minor detail in the. Frank perceived something in this insignificant character that goes unnoticed by everyone else. Whitmore clarified that he comprehended that Brooks embodied the essence of all men those who are unable to live independently may become institutionalized. Past the boundaries, once those boundaries existed, the choice to grow and expand was made, resulting in a new home. Brooks' position fundamentally revolutionized the film's emotional terrain, defined the consequences for Red's ultimate launch, and established a stark contrast to Andy's. Unwavering optimism persists, even in the absence of Brooks' conclusion, would significantly diminish its emotional resonance. We wouldn't comprehend the full extent of. It's extraordinary that Red selects a filmmaker, Frank Darabont, known for his unique directorial approach. It was later disclosed that studio heads forced to eliminate the Brooks sequence, completely asserting that it hindered the primary. The narrative revolves around my struggle to champion Brooks Darabont. Stated, I clarified that the absence of what is the fate that awaits Red on his last trip? Nothing signifies fear Red Brooks chose. Selects hope, foregoing the alternative. Lacking significance. Given this background, Brooks's well-known carving Brooks made his mark here. Even more affecting when Red subsequently interjects so have been identified as Red and then left for Mexico. He's doing more than simply leaving a message. He's directly refusing Brooks' destiny and selecting an alternative outcome for himself. The warden, inspired by a true individual named Bob Gunton, portraying the antagonistic warden. Years subsequent to the film's release, Norton disclosed, acknowledged that his character was partly inspired by a true prison administrator. Originating in the 1950s, this individual ultimately found guilty of compelling inmates to execute remodeling projects at his private residence. Frank provided me with newspaper articles about this correctional officer hailing from the Midwestern region, armed with a firearm. He introduced himself as a devout and morally righteous Christian, concurrently treating inmates like individual servitude and misappropriation of funds. The level of hypocrisy was astounding in this real-world situation. Motivation guided the creation of many of his most striking character traits. Scriptural references placed alongside his relentless preoccupation with cruelty, exterior versus his inner wickedness. Comprehending this context provides a fresh perspective on the significance of the warden's suicide scene. Upon the police's arrival, he finds himself unable to confront them. The degrading experience of being treated as if he's ruled over a criminal empire for decades. Gunton observed, it's more than just a matter of fear of. Imprisonment signifies his downfall. Meticulously crafted self-image as such a righteous individual that he finds this unbearable. Specific character traits contribute to historical accuracy, genuineness to something that could otherwise appear to be a stereotypical, overblown villain. A warden who misuses Bible verses to justify wrongdoing isn't. He originated from a Hollywood creation. America's genuine history of punishment is. The concept of redemption in Shawshank isn't what you might expect. Consider while the majority of viewers believe the concept of redemption, as embodied in the film's title, signifies Andy's ultimate freedom and exoneration. The performers have disclosed a considerably more subtle analysis by Tim Robbins. Clarified, the title isn't merely concerning. Andy's redemption is manifested in his successful escape. It's centered on the salvation of humankind. Within a space intended for removal, Andy liberates humanity from its bonds. incarcerated individuals by instilling in them a sense of optimism. And for this reason, he saves the library, restoring its roof. Even the cell walls themselves felt through his. The carvings he crafts are a testament to Shawshank itself. Even more so now that he's intending to depart. This comprehension revolutionizes transform the film from a basic tale of escape into a contemplation of considerably greater depth regarding the methods by which humans can sustain their fundamental respect, even in the direst circumstances. Diminishing situations, Morgan Freeman inserted his own unique take on Red's discoveries. Salvation extends beyond simply departing from Shaw's influence, finally revealing the truth despite the potential for harm to both himself and the parole board during. He claims indifference to. His perception of himself is what they judge. He's truly himself now, finally genuine after redemption. Years of expressing his opinions. Long to experience this multifaceted sound. A comprehension of redemption is beneficial. Elaborate on the reasons behind the film's widespread appeal. On a profound level with audiences, it's more than simply this is a prison break thriller, a tale of concerning the restoration of the human spirit in its entirety. The various manifestations of spirit, confined by walls, deception, and fear, and, finally, through the lack of hope, the highly recognized conclusion nearly entirely. Possibly the most surprising. Insights shared by the cast and crew reveal that the Shawshank Redemption nearly featured a completely different conclusion. The legendary beach get-together of Andy and Red is perpetually placed among the top choices. Most inspiring cinematic resolutions. History almost met its end. During an interview on the room floor, Frank Darabont disclosed that studio leaders exerted significant pressure to bring about an end. The movie featuring Red aboard the bus traveling near the Mexican border, their dispute intensified. That in actuality, displaying the reunion was extraneous and the movie was. Their desired length had already been exceeded, so they wished to shorten it. Darabont fully elaborated on the beach setting. They contemplated concluding their journey with Red on the bus. Hope alone was sufficient, but I persevered in my struggle. That concluding moment, since the movie doesn't. At its core, it's fundamentally about hope. Realized without ever encountering Andy and Red. United on that sandy shore, the spectators would still be faced with the same ambiguity. A constant torment for Red during the course of the film. Desired to provide them with a sense of resolution, Tim Robbins included another intriguing aspect. The concluding scene was surprisingly the initial element. Frank was our target, and we aimed to get the perfect shot. Gathering before Morgan and I had spent months spent cultivating our connection. He desired that screen with its subtle, endearing peculiarity. A touch of uncertainty, as if two longtime companions reunite following a lengthy separation. Deciding on the separation for this production established the ideal emotional atmosphere for the scene, devoid of excessive sentimentality, nor devoid of sincere emotion, the subtle. The restraint in their coming together feels completely, genuinely, so due to Robbins and Freeman's development of hadn't yet reached the stage of screen chemistry so compelling that their prison sequences so captivating that the leaders are eager to eliminate this situation is practically unimaginable today, considering how it flawlessly concludes the narrative as Morgan Freeman remarked, absent the presence of that beach. The scene with Shawshank would take on a new dimension. A film fundamentally centered on hope as a concept instead of hope as a tangible outcome, and that's significantly less impactful than the music. More than merely a score, Thomas Newman's. The soundtrack for The Shawshank Redemption is nearly as recognizable as the movie itself, but not many viewers comprehend the intentional nature of. The music was composed with the intent to narrate the musical expression of the story's emotional arc. In fact, becomes increasingly optimistic over time. The movie in such understated manners that most viewers are never aware of it consciously, Tim. Robbins showcased initial prison sequences, possessed this stark, almost robotic. The music's quality improves as it progresses, culminating in a satisfying conclusion. A sense of warmth and even delight in the arrangement. This musical sequence reflects Andy's a voyage from hopelessness to optimism, but it occurs so subtly that it goes unnoticed, more emotionally than intellectually. For a majority of spectators, the music serves to, and he secretly instills hope within Shaw. Strike a single note, maybe one at a time. The most impactful musical moment arrives during the renowned time when Brooks graced us with his presence. Series marked by a tender sadness. The score stands in opposition to the old man's fear and isolation, as observed by James Whitmore. Music doesn't dictate your emotional response. Regarding Brooks, there's no indication of manipulative behavior. Rather, it encapsulates his deep dismay and sorrow upon discovering himself liberated, yet more confined than before. Newman's score received a nomination for an Oscar, but was defeated by Hans Zimmer's. Numerous film scholars have dedicated their efforts to analyzing The Lion King. Think of this as one of the Oscar's most substantial shortcomings in Newman's delicate and emotionally intricate composition has endured as one of film's most impactful musical compositions. Film's renewed significance, exploring the legacy of Shawshank Redemption, transcended expectations and became a sensation, The Shawshank. The box office success of Redemption was, at best, a lackluster start against pulp. Like the film Forrest Gump, its fictional narrative also achieved significant success. $16 million in its initial. Its theatrical release was significantly shorter than the anticipated $25 million. A $1 million production cost by, according to standard Hollywood measures, it was a. Morgan Freeman elucidated the concept of failure. Subsequently, the film discovered its viewers via cable television, and VHS rentals began showcasing the film. Frequently, and something extraordinary. When it occurred, people didn't merely observe it. They made a point to watch it every time it aired. It transformed into a source of solace for the spirit. This unparalleled second life reshaped Shawshank into a box office success. Disappointment to a culturally significant benchmark by the late 1990s, video rental earnings were not only ensured the film's profitability, but had designated it as a premier example of Tim Robbins' most cherished films of all time. Observed the paradoxical nature of this progression, a movie centered on patience concerning the act of taking a long-term perspective demands patience. Studio and the expansive perspective of history, too. Be acknowledged for its true nature there's something fitting concerning that. The film's transformation from a flop to. This phenomenon reflects Andy's personal journey. Early difficulties were succeeded by a period of stillness. Continuing success, as Robbins stated, Andy spent years meticulously burrowing through his wall. Using a rock hammer, Shawshank toiled for years, penetrating public awareness in the same manner as someone observing someone. Suggestion on a per-instance basis by 2019. The film had consistently ranked among the highest performing. IMDb's crowdsourced ranking of the best movies for more than 10 years, consistently surpassing masterpieces such as The Godfather and Citizen. In what started as a commercial endeavor, Canine, disappointment had accomplished something of considerably greater importance than just a box. Its success in the office had become an integral element of America's cultural legacy. Today, Shawshank Penitentiary, formerly known as Mansfield Prison, stands. Tourism serves as a captivating epilogue to the enduring impact of the film on Ohio State. The penitentiary that served as the setting for the movie Shawshank Redemption has undergone a transformation from a state of decline. Ehemalige Gefängnis zu einer bedeutenden Touristenattraktion. An attraction that has enticed more than 100,000 visitors every year. It's astonishing to consider that a prison formerly infamous for its cruelty. The state of conditions is currently maintained due to a film celebrating human achievement has been recognized. Tim Robbins attracts fans from every corner of the globe. The globe to witness the whereabouts of Andy and Reds. The story recounted that visitors were permitted to walk the very same halls showcased in the movie can be seen. Scrutinize Andy's cell and also investigate the tunnel. He would seek refuge from Hollywood building, but now a lasting. The prison's former setup. Identity has been virtually entirely overshadowed in its cinematic prominence. The history of Mansfield's local community. Ohio has adopted this heritage, establishing the Shawshank Trail, encompassing more than numerous filming sites scattered across in this region. The economic consequences have been significantly bolstered by tourism income, reinvigorating a region that experienced the downturn in industry. This shift from locale of retribution to spectacle of pilgrimage constitutes yet another facet. Formerly a place of confinement, now a symbol of redemption. Now, breaking the human spirit is being celebrated. Narrative concerning that spirit's unquenchable. The enduring impact of Shawshank, exploring nature's legacy. As the narrative of the Shawshank Redemption unfolds, as it celebrates its 30th anniversary, a pertinent question emerges. What has contributed to the enduring popularity of this specific film? Such a commanding grip on viewers when other critically acclaimed works have since lost their prominence. Memory, as conveyed by Morgan Freeman, might have offered the most perspicacious interpretation of Shaw's work. Shank touches upon a theme that resonates with everyone. The part of ourselves that senses confinement from situations arising from errors filled with remorse, and it suggests the possibility that, with sufficient persistence and optimism, we may yet find a way out of this. Self-constructed prisons, Tim Robbins. The movie doesn't explicitly state it, fails to convey the significance of hope. It guides you along Andy's path, and it recognizes the difficulty of cultivating hope. I insist on that, which is why Red's statement regarding the idea that hope can be a dangerous force holds true. The film so profoundly grasps the essence of hope. It's not simple, it's a requirement, yet it's undeniably frightening. This subtle depiction of hope as simultaneously The combination of salvation and risk propels Shawshank above straightforward motivational narratives. It recognizes the complete intricacy of the essence of human existence, while ultimately reaffirming our ability to renew ourselves. And connectivity director Frank Darabont outlined the film's lasting allure. The story of Shawshank is a testament to the indomitable spirit and the things that cannot be stripped away. From our core, our fundamental humanity, capacity to cultivate friendships, ability to discover significance even within the most challenging situations as long as individuals feel restricted by their existence. This narrative will find a strong connection in a world where commercial entertainment frequently appears. The enduring legacy of Shawshank Redemption remains undeniable. As a gentle nudge to remember that occasionally tales that uncover the most profound depths within it is the hearts that are responsible for taking the most recognized for a considerable time, akin to Andy. Deny himself the film's magnificence was not instantly obvious, but eventually disclosed. Gradually, with care, captivating each viewer individually. When reflecting on time, The Shawshank Redemption comes to mind. Let's explore the reasons behind our fascination with movies. Firstly, it's not merely entertainment, serves as a reflection of, reveals our most profound challenges and most lofty ambitions via the discoveries about its actors and filmmakers. We can recognize the exceptional, the skill and care invested in creating this contemporary artistic triumph from the authentic facility that contained its manufacturing to the meticulously crafted character arcs, from the delicate musical development to the visually symbolic language encompassing every one facet of Shawshank was carefully constructed with extraordinary in its ambition, yet it always avoids feeling overwhelming. Built, it evokes a sense of discovery as, although Darabont and his crew did not craft this narrative, revealing it as much as constructing it. Maybe that's the reason the film has held such sway over audiences for. After almost 3 decades, it still doesn't feel. It feels as real as a movie, truth cloaked in its narrative, clothed in the guise of fiction, as Andy recounts. Red, remember, hope is something positive. The finest aspects and nothing of value always fades if you've cherished them. Glimpses into the story of the Shawshank Redemption. I encourage you to immerse yourself in the film. Once more, with a renewed perspective, search for the visual designs we've explored thus far. Regarding the musical progression, observe how the climate mirrors the emotional. Take heed of Brooks's narrative and how it shapes Red's final decision. Above all, be sure to share this film with an individual unfamiliar with its presence. There's a captivating enchantment in observing someone embark on your inaugural journey into the world of Shawshank, observing their uncovering of a narrative, which has impacted so many individuals. Don't forget to give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. For more in-depth explorations, subscribe to our channel. Cinema's most prized possessions are unveiled. Alert chime so you don't overlook our. Submit your files and share your thoughts in the comments. Sharing your perspective on what you believe is the most a potent moment in the story of Shawshank. Until we meet again, remember redemption awaits. Live life to the fullest or prepare to face your end. That's absolutely